That's not what you say. What go back? Assembly.
SMD.
Senior Minister Lee.
I thought it's MD.
Last time he was Senior Minister.
Then he became
Then he became Mentor Minister. Promotion. Don't must be promoted to Senior Minister. Then cannot have two. Then okay lah, he become Mentor. Mentor his son.
You don't know whether there will be MMED again.
MM go already. No more.
MM Lee Hsien Loong.
MM go, what MM go, then MMD, SND.
Whether he get elected lah.
SND lah, cannot jump to SN.
Maybe we'll have PME again after PM
Why do
Heng.
you need a mentor? Why do you need a mentor?
To provide question ideas.
Outdated. They shouldn't be mentoring them. Then they'll be following the old tradition. Without pay,
Three prime minister. One prime minister salary so high, three.
Pay a lot. Okay. Shall we introduce?
Hi, I'm here again. So, I'm sorry for the sudden change of topic because I found that I couldn't really talk much about the previous one I chose, the space recognition, because we still have more work to. I still have more work to do before I can have enough to say, but I can still do a short demo at the end of it. So today I want to talk about the work that I'm currently working on, which is crawlers. So basically what crawlers do is that they scrape information from the internet. So if you want to gather a large volume of data from the internet, you would want to use a crawler to crawl through the internet. So basically the data that you get from crawling, or web scraping as they say, when you analyze it, it can be very valuable. So for instance, Google crawls the internet for all the web pages so that it can actually give all the documents a score for each query, and it can give you a list of results when you put in a Google query. So this is an example of how valuable the data from a crawler can be if properly used. So today, I guess many of us are very familiar with crawlers because they are just programs that retrieve information from the internet. So I want to talk about crawling frameworks. So what are crawling frameworks? So crawling frameworks are not crawlers in themselves, but they are software packages or packages of tools that contain the fundamental frameworks for fetching data from the web. So it will allow someone who wants to build a crawler, allow that person to save time and money and effort in order to crawl. So if you don't use a crawling framework, then you have to start from scratch, which can be very expensive and time consuming. So basically there are two sorts of crawlers, and we have the general purpose crawlers. So for instance, general purpose crawlers, basically you start from a seed web page and you look through all the links in that web page and you crawl the links and you look at the links and you see what links there are in that one again, and you crawl it again and again until you run out of pages to crawl. So basically that's what Google does. So if you want to build a search engine like Google, or you want to build an archive such as the Internet Archive, you want to recursively, ad infinitum, just crawl and crawl and crawl. Whenever you have a link, just crawl it, so that you can build a copy of what we call the shadow in your database. So basically, if you want to run a search engine, or you want to have a full archive of a certain website, or the entire internet, you want to use a general purpose crawler. But so there are two crawling frameworks for general purpose crawlers. They are Nudge. So let's have a look at Nudge. So Apache. So they are all open source. So it's from the Apache project. Basically, you put in a link and it will crawl all the way until it runs out of links to crawl. And the other one is Heritrix. So again, it's this one, Heritrix, is quite special because it's actually used by the Internet Archive to archive its web pages. So as you know, the Internet Archive is a digital library that contains copies of web pages dating back to 1996. So if you want to go and look at what Google looked like in 1998, you can go to the Wayback Machine and Google search engine prototype. So this is Google in 1998. So basically,
but cannot search.
Cannot search. This is an archive of what it looks like.
Like you click the button, anything happens?
Nothing. So basically at this point, right, Google is still not google.com, it's still google.stanford.edu. It's still a uni project. So basically at that point, right, there wasn't a google.com. The address is google.stanford.edu. So as you can see, so that time it was still a Stanford project.
Student,
Yeah. So that's how big a some can. So basically, the crawler used by the Internet Archive, which is the Heritrix, it crawled Google back in 1998 and stored this web page, which we can now see today. And so that's an illustration of what you can use a general purpose crawler for. Now,
but that one you want the front page only. You didn't go inside.
It will go inside the Stanford search. It will go in and it captures, and you have the archive which it captured. So maybe something better to
SMS.org.
sms.org.sg. So basically we can look at SMS website in 1998, and this is so yay. If I want to join SMS today, I can so this is from the and I can have a sample copy of the Microlines magazine. This one is from 1999. You can download a copy of this. Oops, it's not. So basically, the crawler somehow did not archive the URL. Perhaps because it's a zip file, too big for it.
Oh,
And because at time the disk space was expensive.
yeah.
So it did not crawl the relatively large, but the HTML files were all crawled. And we can still look at the committee at the
Oh, then you can go back and check all the information. Oh, okay.
yeah, so basically this is one of the users of the heritrix. This is the, it's called heritrix free. So the web crawler is called heritrix free. Since 1996 it has been crawling the internet to capture and archive the world's web pages so that you can see the history of the internet in your browser. So basically you can find this at archive.org, archive.org, and the crawler used to power this itself is heritrix free, which is available on GitHub. So that's basically a general purpose crawler. So a focus crawler would be something different. It would be more specific. So instead of crawling everything, every link that you see on a page, you can collect only what you need. So it will result in fewer pages visited, less storage consumed, and you can crawl what you really want faster. So you can store it however you want. So you can choose to store the data from a focus crawler in a SQL table. You can choose to store it in a CSV file. You can choose to store it in MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database. So there is more total control over the crawling process. You can get the pre-program the crawler to make certain actions based on what it sees or does not see on a page it visits. So we have a few examples of focus crawlers. So I'm talking about the crawling frameworks here. In terms of crawling frameworks, we have Scrapy, we have PySpider, we have Web Collector, we have WebMagic, and we have Venom. So these are some examples of focus crawlers that are made in Java and Python. And so just to illustrate, the type of workload that a focus crawler has to do. So basically, if you want to crawl the Amazon page and you want to collect the departments, so the focus crawler will be able to go to this departments listing. So you'll have all these departments. It'll be able to go into each department. So store.
This side called department.
Yeah. So basically categories. So it'll go into each category, say accessories and supplies in electronics, and it'll go in and capture the listings. And there are so many pages, you see. And then once it captures the listings, it can then go on to capture the products. And it will capture, say, the title of the product, the number of sizes that you can buy the product in. You can capture the price of the product. You can capture the images of the product. You can capture the descriptions of the product. You can capture the frequently bought together. You can capture the sponsored items. You capture so basically you can capture whatever you want, and it can be crawled in a very systematic manner. And as long as you know that, as long as the site layout does not change, you can make sure that every time you run the crawler, you will get exactly what you need from Amazon or whatever. So basically, an example of what you have to do when you crawl Amazon, you would have to use a post request to submit a form, right? Say, if I want to ship to Singapore, there is a different price. If I want to ship to, say, a different zip code, I will have to submit a post request to request the cookies that will allow me to request the price for a different location. So I just changed my location from Singapore to Portland. So what a focus crawler can do is that it can submit such a request. It can store the cookie to in order to save my location that I am in the US instead of in Singapore, and I can use that cookie to request Amazon for a price that is suitable for the US instead of Singapore. So of course we can also check for so basically you can see that in the US all of these items are available, but if you switch back to Singapore, you can see that some of these items are unavailable. So this is unavailable in Singapore, but it's available in the US. So the cookie stored by the crawler will be able to help you request the availability of items and the price of items for different locations. So the crawler that I'm working on right now is Venom. So Venom is actually developed by students at SMU, and yeah. So I'm on the Venom team, and this is our website, venom.preferred.ai, and so there is.
What if the layout they change the HTML layout, then your crawler will fear, right?
Yeah, you have to change the configuration of the crawler.
Or every time they change something.
Yeah, so actually, so basically, I'm part of the data infrastructure team for my for preferred.ai. So basically, the students would maintain the crawler to collect the information, so that the profs and the postgraduates can analyze and run their. So basically, we are doing the data mining, and they are doing the AI part of it, training the models and stuff.
Now the web page locked is a HTML page with JavaScript and loading based on.
So basically, let's just have an example of what we want. So let's say you want to, you want to have the website that updates people on what events there are in Singapore. So let's say you want to have a list of events from Eventbrite. So Eventbrite is a website that lists all the events that are going on in Singapore. So not all, but people who list with Eventbrite. So you have the Mindfulness Conference, you have the Asia Risk Congress, the District Race, you have Asia PE VC Summit. And let's say I want to store all the names of the I want to store a list of these events in a CSV file, for example. So I would use if I use Venom to crawl it, I would start with a crawler. Basically, I would set up a fetcher, and I can then use that fetcher to build a crawler, and I can give it a start URL here, and then I can crawl, and when the thing goes to handler, right, so we can select elements according to their CSS queries. So what is a CSS query? So basically, when we go to any web page, there are there are many elements in that web page, and there are HTML tags which will enable us to identify a particular element. So for instance, if we want to look at the username of a particular GitHub project, we can come here and inspect the elements. And we can see that this is the HTML element that is that contains the name of the user that uploaded this repository. So if we take this entire web page and we say that we want a section, and with a class URL fn. So if we take this and we want to so we get Internet Archive. So basically, using this particular CSS query, you are able to extract this part of the web page. So basically, this is just an A with a class that is URLFN, and we are able to extract this HTML, and the text of that would be Internet Archive, which is displayed. So this is an example of what we can do to select the elements of a web page. So again, if we want to use the Eventbrite example, and we give it, and we ask it for a list of Singapore events, for instance, we know that okay, let's go into a particular event, a specific event, and so this is the name of the event. We inspect the elements, and we find that there is this H1 class listing title, hero title. So we can just go take this web page, and we can fetch the URL. And if we ask for the H1 that has a class so here we have extracted the title of the event. So a basic crawler in Venom could therefore first extract a list of the events, and it would then pass the list of events and store all the event title, the event date and time, the event address in a CSV file. An example of which you can see here as a list of all the events, the URL of the event, the name of the event, the location.
Done before or
Sorry,
just now? Yeah.
this was done before. So if I want to crawl now, I haven't updated the crawler, so it's a bit outdated. How? wait for it to compile. So basically we run this small demo crawler. It will start the crawler thread. It will process the list of events first. And so there's an event list crawler, and it sends the event list, the URL to the event list handler that will handle the event list. And okay, so and then the event handler will itself process the events, individual events, and it will store the events. So right now there are problems with the event crawler, so we are just storing a lot of null values because I've not updated the layout in my project file. So basically right now it just stores null values.
We don't know how to read the page. Just after all the content.
Okay, so so right now the title is not stored, the address is stored, and the description is stored, but the date, time, and the title is gone. Yeah, so this is basically what you get. This is live. You just crop this. Yeah, here's the mindfulness conference. The Asia Risk Conference is here. But yeah. So this is from the event list that we saw earlier. So you just crop a list of URLs, the address, and the description of the events. Allow me to show you a larger scale application of the of Venom. So right now basically my task is to crawl the entirety of Amazon for all the products, all the users, and all the reviews.
All the users?
Yes.
How you know the user?
Because
when they give feedback.
Yeah, when they give feedback, you get a user ID.
Oh, but you know who lah.
I don't know who it is, but I know that there is such a user. So for instance, I can collect the categories on Amazon. So I have Samsung wearable technology with 3 items, electronics wearable technology smartwatches with 50,000 items. We have virtual reality headsets, 1,000 items. PlayStation 3, 40,000 items.
In the store.
Yeah, in activity trackers, 5,000 items. And portable audio and video, 50,000 items. Home publishing, 374.
50, how you sell one page? How people find you with 50,000 items?
Because that's why you have us. So that's the problem. So you have to hope that you have done your SEO correctly to optimize. Sorry.
Amazon said this Amazon, right?
Yeah, this is Amazon.
And if somebody put 50,000, there are 50,000 items of the same thing. How will you sell? You one of 50,000.
It's not the same thing. Basically, those are categories.
Oh.
So under under the PlayStation 3 category, we may have the PlayStation 3 consoles, but we also have the PlayStation 3 accessories, the PlayStation 3 games, the PlayStation 3 consoles, and all the other things that come with a PlayStation 3. Yeah, all the cables, or everything. Yeah. Spare parts.
So not easy to sell online.
Yeah. So basically, we have Amazon listing. So after we crawl the categories, we'll go into each of the categories and we'll store the listings on the categories. So we'll go into the listings and we'll crawl all the, we'll look for all the products and we'll capture the title of the product, the URL of the product, and the ASIN. So the ASIN is actually a unique identifier that Amazon assigns to each product and every variety of each product. So if you have, say, if you sell a phone and the phone is blue, has two colors, blue and purple. The blue one will have one ASIN and the purple one will have a different ASIN. So we have to capture all the ASINs, and so each ASIN will be a unique product. And of course, after capturing the listings, we'll go into the link to the product itself and we'll capture all the details of the product, right? And we'll go into reviews, capture all the reviews, and we'll go to users and capture all the users.
How many people in the world like you capturing?
I think a lot.
A lot. So
thousands and thousands capturing.
No, not
not
thousands,
thousands.
maybe 20.
this is very niche.
Yeah.
So
You can make capture hotels.com, then you can get another one, doctorhotel.com.
So what's the purpose?
the purpose of capturing all this information is that so this is basically I'm working for a research group at SMU. So basically it's an AI research group, so they need a lot of data to train their models on. So basically the undergraduates are working on the data mining part. So we mine the data and store them in a database so that the postgraduate students, the researchers,
Teach them how to mine, basically.
Mining is another, they analyze the data.
so
First of all, you teach them how to mine. The next step is teach them how to analyze.
We will mine the data.
So basically, it's the undergraduates are mining the data, and the data when mined is sent to the postgraduates and the professors and the researchers for analysis. So basically, I'm only concerned with mining, and they are only concerned with analysis.
Yeah. That's like property prices, then you know what's the trend.
Yeah.
Then you know which product is selling well now, then which one is not selling. Then if not selling well, then this shop business will all close. Some videos they say nobody buy the laptop anymore from the shop. Hardly no customer. Everybody buy online. That's why his project will tell you how many people are buying online.
Yeah. So basically, I can collect the. So basically, we have.
This side will be useful for government.
So basically, we can actually collect all the reviews on the product, and we can do a sentiment analysis on the product. So we can actually see what the general sentiment of the public is on a certain product. So basically, it can basically crawl through all the reviews that a product has on a certain product, and we can see, use that to tell, whether this product sucks or it's good, in the eyes of the general public.
Even the feedback, there's a country flag, right?
Yeah.
Then you know who gave the feedback.
On
Maybe which
Amazon,
country?
it's not so granular. On Amazon, we just know that they purchased it on. So basically, Amazon has many websites. So there's Amazon.com, which is a US site. There's Amazon.co.uk, which is the UK site. There's Amazon.com.cn, which is Chinese site. Then you have the French site, the German site, the Swiss sites. So for each Amazon websites, there are different reviews. So we can only tell that these users belong to Amazon UK or Amazon China, but we don't know whether they actually live in China, because you can live in Singapore and buy from the UK site or the US site or the China site. So you don't really know where they are from, but you know which site they bought it from.
How do you not be paid to review positively?
No, like
That's possible, but because
no, possible lah. You buy your own lah,
Yeah.
then you review yourself. So you will have a few down there, then people say, wow, good.
Yeah, so
A few lah, then you pay yourself lah, then I mean,
So
don't earn the
basically-
commission lah.
Basically, there are actually reports, right, that people actually receive like 10 empty boxes all of a sudden. So basically, those are fake purchases. So if I'm a seller, I ship this guy's 10 empty boxes, and I can write positive reviews for 10 of my products. Yeah.
Yeah, but if the person lost 10 shipping charges and commission.
Yeah, but the shipping charges can be very cheap because it's just an empty box.
No, but
Say
it's
again,
not
say again, you
charge.
send empty.
Yeah,
Who send empty boxes?
The seller.
the seller.
The seller send you 10 empty.
Kaki lang.
Send to kaki lang.
Anyone, like, you just get it all of a sudden.
Not anyone. They will complain.
Yeah.
They will complain and then
Send to
you
the members here lah.
kaki lang lah. They call it kaki lang unless you don't understand Chinese.
Kaki lang call kaki lang Then
You don't know
you
Chinese.
know Chinese. Own people means own people.
People, yeah.
Kaki lang ah.
Kaki lah, kaki.
Not kaki, no.
Kaki is 挤人，
I know.
挤人啊。
Okay.
So you get receive empty boxes, then what do you do?
You keep buy lah, then you just say, oh, damn good, damn good. You must buy lah, must buy.
Must buy.
Recommend 100% like that.
So,
But there are not many like this. Kaki lang very few.
yeah, so
Ask people.
there are, so particularly for the many products with many reviews, like there could be.
If you are selling the same thing and there are 20 people selling the same thing, then you yourself buy it, you say, trustworthy, they buy from you lor.
So basically for the popular products, there are really a lot of reviews, and so this one has 17K reviews
Wow.
alone.
Do you review normally?
Yeah, because they tell you,
No,
you-
no.
when you acknowledge receipt, then the feedback will come up. Normally, I'll just put 4 star and then submit. No, I don't comment.
So
not
for-
correct. No.
Don't care lah, give them chance lah.
So so Venom is actually an open source crawling framework, and it is multi-threaded. So you can crawl multiple pages at the same time simultaneously. It is asynchronous. So we have a scheduler which you can. So we actually have many different types of schedulers.
The source code is so open that you can.
This is their project. So they open source.
No, you crawl people. You see the source code.
No, not so
From the source code you
straightforward.
crawl.
Not so straightforward. You have to look at the.
So basically, this is the team.
Yeah.
This is the team, and are you the
This is
leader?
his team.
No, I'm one of them. This is me. This is the prof.
Or you are at the bottom there.
Yeah, I'm at the bottom. Which one? No lah, no Hong Kong, no Hong Kongese.
Are you able to know after you mine the data
Yeah.
whether the data seems to come from a certain source or group, and then this could be biased, like the Russians are, going into the US election, and then they are detecting that it's really from the Russian. So if your review comes from a selected group, like you all mentioned,
Yeah.
then are you able to say, oh, these are all biased data, and discount them?
So basically, I'm not on that part of the project. So basically, I'm only concerned with mining all the data. Yeah, but it is possible, and the profs are actually working on it, the researchers. But I'm not.
If you have the person who make the comment, then his name is Lim Po Se,
Yeah.
and he appears 10,000 times.
Yeah.
And you know this
So
fella-
basically, we actually store the
Then
user ID,
people who comment
the name, and the and the reviews in which the user appears.
Yeah.
So if a user suddenly appears in 10,000 reviews, then of course we know something is wrong. Or if we see that if a user likes to comment on a certain manufacturer's products. So so for every product by that manufacturer, the user will comment. There is something wrong lah. And of course, if you see for a random product, right, you always see two users commenting together. Like if I see A has made a good review, B will also do a good review. Then the two are kakis also lah. Yeah, like because they are in the same group of bots that will spam the positive reviews. So you'll know.
I see. So this is the usefulness, but cannot make money. Only research only.
But I think if there's a person
No, but you can make money. So
you will not use just reposting.
Yeah.
You will say all the
Troublesome
different names.
You can
you create the computer to create all the
What
numbers.
about Alibaba?
So Alibaba is another student is working on the crawler. So I'm the Amazon guy. So
same lah. The idea is the same.
So the Alibaba people can come in and see a lot of things and then doing some copycat. Am I right?
so basically, I trust that Alibaba is actually crawling
especially the
through.
product, they can put the same thing.
Same lah. Everybody doing all these things lah. It's only next time they will block all these crawler already.
So basically, there's a lot of money involved in
And all
this.
these things will be blocked already.
Because the project I'm working on, right, it received I think a $2 million grant from MOE.
Oh, you almost at 2 million.
Yeah.
I also want to get for MOE. 1 million I can do already. It's so simple,
Yeah.
open source like.
So it's $2.7 million over 5 years.
Crazy. We tell MOE 2 million can already.
2.7
Then
million.
you don't study. Quick. Redo. You get 1 million lah. The 1.7 I
So basically, the project that my prof is working on is a recommender system. So basically, it asks
like hell don't get this
you can look at a user. So after looking through all the Amazon users, right? Basically, right now, what our software can do is that a user can come in, show us his Amazon account, okay, tell us his user ID, and then we can tell him, this is what we think you'll like. And if you give you a list of items, there's a very high chance that you want to buy it. So basically, this can be used for advertising.
Yes.
It can be used.
Then you can sell this to Amazon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Amazon will like you to encourage the buyer to buy other products.
Essentially.
But can Amazon know that you are mining their data?
They probably know somebody is crawling.
Basically, we use a lot of proxies. So basically, we will.
It's like straight secret already.
Let's see if we. Yeah, that's
It's a covert operation.
Yeah, but basically, if you run this software, right? No, not product tester. It's
So you see the source code.
Yeah, you can look at the code.
So it's a source code. Going to crawl.
See the knowledge.
So basically, if I want to crawl for the categories, this is.
Can't get high page. Cannot. Internet is
They hide, you can't see.
You see, I'll be extracting cookies. I'll be retrieving cookies from Amazon, for each of the locations, so that at this point I'll be getting cookies for Singapore, for the US, for China, so that I can see, what a user from each country will see when he enters the Amazon website.
You can see what's in the cookie.
Okay. You have to explain to him what is a cookie, not something that you can eat.
Yeah. So basically, a cookie is something that is stored in a browser, so that a website can remember a preference or some information on you when you visit that website again. So for example, when I go to Amazon the first time, I'm coming from a Singapore IP. So Amazon will say, oh, this guy is from Singapore. And then he'll store a cookie in my browser saying, this guy is from Singapore. So even if I go to the US and I access the Amazon website, the Amazon will know that I'm from Singapore. So
From your
from my cookie, yes, from my cookie, because they have stored a cookie in my browser.
cookie is in Singapore.
So
like you explain
Okay,
to
so-
a layman it's
Yeah.
different thing.
So basically, the
Let him test.
Amazon will store a cookie in my computer.
This computer, you're in Singapore, okay?
Yeah.
Don't tell them computer.
So the cookie contains information like I'm in Singapore, and yeah. So when I access the website again, the Amazon will be able to see the cookie that is stored in the computer, and it will know. It will know from the cookie that I am in Singapore, and it will then send me the web page that is specific to Singapore.
Provided he brings the notebook to US.
So, but if I bring it to the US,
So you know that you are from Singapore and now you are in the US.
Yeah.
One IP address different.
yeah, so it will still bring me to the Singapore website.
No, if you go there,
Yeah.
you use
Then different again.
Yeah,
a different computer.
yeah,
But your name and identification is still the same.
No name ID,
It's
don't
same.
log
just a
in.
cookie. Yeah,
If you
So
log in,
cookie stored in the hardware.
it's stored in my computer.
yeah.
So basically, it's just a note scribbled on the side. It's like a post-it on my browser. So Amazon will read the post-it and say, this guy is from Singapore.
It's rubbish lah. It's just a tag only lah.
Yeah, so it just stores where I'm from lah. So I can essentially, when I'm in Singapore, if I want to look at the prices in the US, for example, I can request a new cookie. So I will tell the Amazon in the request that actually I'm from US postal code 97203, and then the Amazon will send me a new cookie telling me, saying that, okay, actually my IP is Singapore, but I'm actually from the US and my postal code is 97203. And then the next time I go to Amazon and I show it this cookie, Amazon will give me the US site instead of the one in Singapore.
So usually a few bytes only lah. Cookie a few bytes.
few hundred also can do it.
Yeah,
And it's quite safe. Cookies are quite safe.
Depends
Depends lah.
Not necessary. Cookie means is something they put in without your knowledge.
They'll ask you.
That's like when you walk along the road, somebody put a sticker behind your back. And then they know you are from Bishan, you enter MRT, they go, hey, you go anywhere, they know you come from Bishan.
But they often ask you.
sorry.
They ask you.
No, they don't ask you.
But very other website not ask you. In fact, now the trend is to ask you.
Yeah.
Accept cookies, not the trend is to accept cookies.
Yeah,
Funny
They ask
website,
you.
they ask.
So actually they did not have to ask you.
they need not have to ask you.
I see.
No, but if they operate in Europe, they have to be very careful because that's the GDPR,
All Europe.
Europe have privacy law.
the
Singapore
privacy
don't have.
law in Europe. So basically, if you anyhow slap a cookie on a European user, you can be fined up to $1 billion.
Oh, no wonder they ask you.
Yeah lah,
Yeah.
gentlemen
So
I begin to notice a lot of site asking you whether you want to accept cookies or not.
yeah, basically, if you run a site and you give a cookie to a EU customer without asking him, the EU can come and fine you.
But you can't find your own, can't find that cookie. Can you find that cookie in your computer?
No, your website must have this capability. Can it?
Yeah. Like basically, if
You do not know the cookie. You see, you put this you can see the paper, but cookie you can't see.
Can.
No, you can
But for them is they just make sure your website asks the user whether they want to accept it.
yeah,
Your website don't have this feature, then you can whether the cookie come or not.
So how do you
next
know that
question.
you are cookie?
yeah,
Can you
yeah,
go to Amazon
yeah.
and search for all the cookies that they send out to
No.
customers?
You cannot.
I cannot.
Search for all their cookies.
Yeah.
Then you are hacking into that system.
Then you are hacking
already.
into that system,
The
yeah.
cookie is stored in the server, not
Yes,
on
server.
No,
not
but
downloaded.
yeah. So like, if I actually stole a cookie, I could technically hack into someone's account and order myself a pile of
Cookies are
laptops.
unmanageable.
Oh, we know.
Cookies are the
So basically, if someone is logged on to his account and that cookie is used to identify him, so basically I can show Amazon the cookie and say I am XXX and I want to buy a laptop, ship it to my house in Bishan. So perhaps this cookie belongs to this guy in the US, but then suddenly his credit card is billed for a laptop and I get the laptop. So that's hacking already, that's malicious.
You to log in again.
Yeah.
Like YouTube, you don't log in. So you use somebody's computer, you see all the funny things that he
Yeah.
watch. The same. Let's say you use Changhang computer, you see all the Cantonese opera. Then you use
But
all
if you
the
buy cookie, you do not know what this means. What I'm trying to say. You do not know. Because you are on site, you put cookie, you put a special tag that you know this is a certain purpose. But if I take this cookie, it means nothing to me.
Yeah, and that means nothing to me because the cookie basically is just something like
Because tag that you know, only you know.
only the website.
yeah, only the Amazon
so
seller
you
knows.
collect cookies, no use.
The reason why I collect
Cannot.
the reason why I collect cookies here is that the availability of product varies from country to region. So for example, if I want to if I say I'm from Singapore, you know, some of the products that they're not allowed to ship to Singapore will be unavailable. And some of the other products that can be shipped to Singapore may be more expensive than in the US because of the shipping fee. So if I want to capture, you know, the details of the products for each country. So from the perspective of a US user, a French user, a Singaporean user, a British user, then I would have to ask Google for a US cookie, a Singapore cookie, a French cookie, and a British cookie. So a cookie in this instance is like just like a pass. So when I want the details for a product in the US, I'll show Amazon the US cookie and say, hey, I'm from the US. Tell me whether this product is available in the US and the price in the US. And then I'll show it the Singapore cookie. Now I'm from Singapore. I want to know the price in Singapore and whether it's available in Singapore.
Okay, so maybe explain to you. Cookie is hidden. He needs the cookie because he wants to crawl a web page. Every web page that you crawl, you have to submit the cookie. So he impersonates a UK account. Then you get a UK cookie which he can submit from Singapore.
Einstein theory.
So he cheat the other side. Impersonate cookie is to impersonate. Because they require a cookie for each query. Like show it's not like that show although he demonstrate with
Right.
understand?
So basically this is my cookie provider. I will basically ask for
Can you demonstrate show a cookie? Cannot.
show a cookie. Yes.
Show the cookie how to show. 老花对
Okay, so I can show the cookie in terms of a string lah, and I can show you how we
Doctor want to find out all the symptoms.
Decipher a cookie.
Okay, so this is a cookie. So this is a cookie. This is an example of a cookie. Enlarge it. This is a cookie. This is a typical Amazon cookie.
Skin, no skin.
So this is the session ID.
Some are readable.
And there's another session ID type.
Yeah. So you don't understand.
I understand some are.
You only understand skin, no skin one.
Yes. The preference for USD. Yeah. So basically this session ID is a thing that only Amazon knows. So Amazon will store some information associated with this session ID. So somewhere in the Amazon database there is this session ID stored, and then with a list of other details about the person who requested this cookie. So probably the Amazon would know that I'm from Singapore, that I'm using a Windows computer, that I'm running it from Mozilla Firefox, and that it was created this time. Yeah. So this is a cookie.
Make it easier for you lah.
Yeah.
No,
Next question,
the cookie
next
is
time
not
you
used
use
for him.
Yeah.
Every time you go out,
It's
can you
for his
delete
phone.
all cookies?
Sorry.
Can you delete all the cookies every time you
Can
go
lah,
out?
clear cache
After
lah.
you finish.
Clear the cache.
Clear the cache.
Clear the cache and then cookies.
So, are you talking about the crawling context?
No. Let's say you are saying Amazon is giving me a cookie. Can I clear that cookie?
Yes, you definitely can. You can
How
go
do
to.
you go about?
You can go to. Do you use Chrome or Firefox? Chrome. Okay, so you just go to settings, and you go to
Nimble says.
You can clear cookie
Clear browsing data.
One day, you know.
last
I
hour.
clear all.
You can clear the browsing data. So you have to clear the cookies and other site data. You can clear for the last hour, last 24 hours, last 7 days.
All the time.
And you can clear from all time.
Okay,
Let's clear from all time.
Is it a good idea to clear your cookies?
Depends lah. You go YouTube every time come out random picture.
Sometimes they have. So basically, if you want to buy an air ticket online, you better clear your cookies, because if the airline knows that you've been searching for the
Cheapest.
that you've been searching for a particular flight. Let's say you want to go to Hong Kong, and you've been searching for a flight to Hong Kong for the past 2 months. Then it can actually know that you are very interested in going to Hong Kong, and it will jack up the price for you.
Yeah, will you do that?
It will.
Maybe
Yeah,
lower the
some
price. You haven't make up your mind. I think better
They
lower
will
the price.
let you know. Yes, hotels also.
Yeah, so before you book anything, you have to clear away the cookies so that it will give you the lower price.
Okay.
Otherwise, it will know that you actually want the thing. It will quote a higher price for you. It's very diabolical.
Or maybe they say after 2 months still cannot close your case, they lower the price.
The world sometimes.
Yeah,
You
very.
still haven't decided you want to lower the price.
Yeah.
You use two computer and check. Use a new computer and check. They say the price is cheaper, then you go there and buy.
So it's all better
I
to
thought
clear.
the government monitor you from the IP address, not coming to our PC.
Basically, the IP address for most residential users, IP is dynamically allocated.
Dynamically allocated, but it hardly change.
Yeah, but it will still change lah.
No, not like this.
But it's very possible that the entire block has the same IP address.
No. Oh, yeah. If you are using some service provider,
Yeah, like
Republic,
Singtel,
Republic, they have all local IP.
So you cannot so maybe you and your neighbor might have the same IP address, so they don't know whether